Welcome to The Growth Equation. This isn't your typical business podcast. We're keeping it real about the challenges of scaling up, period. I'm Tristan Wright and I've been there. I've built and scaled my own business. I've sold it. I've learned a ton along the way. Now I'm bringing you the no BS stories of founders who are in the trenches right now, navigating that messy middle. We're talking advertising, marketing, design, creative, branding, the whole 9 yards. Doesn't matter if you're a solopreneur or running a team of 100. Everyone's got a secret sauce, that thing that makes them different, better. We're going to uncover it. So grab a coffee and let's get real. Today we're talking to Justin from Tuned WP. Justin, welcome.
G'day, Tristan. How's things?
Good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, pretty good.
Awesome. You've got an interesting story. We caught up last week, and you've got a team of about how many do you have over in the Philippines?
25.
25. So, Justin, for those that don't know, Justin's got a team of 25 staff in the Philippines, and he's the only Aussie team member. So, I honestly or personally haven't heard of a business that's been able to run successfully with that many offshore staff members. So, and not having any onshore Australian staff members. So, we're going to be digging deep into how Justin's been able to build such a successful remotely based team. But before we do that, Justin, tell us a bit about your story and your background.
Yeah, sure. So I'm based in country Victoria, up in the mountains, small country town that I grew up in, and I grew up here, travelled around a bit, but then had the kids come along, moved back to the hometown because I love it here and it's a good community here. Got the family, and I really didn't like couldn't picture growing up the kids in the city. It just wasn't for me, sort of thing. And so then I started working on building this online business on the side, and being sort of remote, I had to. The business that I wanted to build wouldn't get to where I wanted it to be in a small country town. So I had to work on building relationships with other people outside in Melbourne and Sydney and that sort of thing, and started up a wholesale sort of business where we were supplying white label services to other agencies. And so in doing that, sort of built up a team in the Philippines. I started off on SEO. That was the first thing that we focused on. And I quickly found, though, that it was hard for me to train people to the level that I needed with SEO, especially working remotely. But I could find and hire people who were really good at doing the website development side of things and looking after websites. And the other thing was that for SEO, I usually needed to fix up people's websites. And initially that was a big problem for me because it wasn't my area of expertise, but I was able to hire people who were really good at that. And we sort of I ended up realizing that was a better business model for me. And so we focused and doubled down on WordPress support and fixing up people's websites. And we still do a bit of SEO, but it's not the core focus of our business anymore. Now we just focus on websites. I guess the business has slowly grown over the past 15 years, and we have the team's grown over that time. Started with just a couple, and it got to a point where I realized that the doing the white label sort of wholesale supply of the services to marketing agencies was good to a certain extent, but it left me sort of vulnerable in some ways with cash flow. I was reliant on those agencies to bring in clients and that sort of thing. So I about 7 or 8 years ago, I started up my own brand, Tuned WP, to work directly with clients, and we still have a few agencies that we work with as well.
What's your client mix like at the moment? What percentage in terms of revenue, we'll say, is agency versus direct to client?
it's pretty small, the agency side of things. Yeah, actually, maybe about 30%.
Yep.
Yeah. So I haven't really looked at those numbers for a while though, to be honest.
So your target is definitely on direct to consumer, direct to client these days.
Yeah, and we still like we had a new agency join like our service last year, so we still like are offering that, but it's not something that I'm focused on growing as much. Yeah, and yeah, the other thing is that with the having our own brand, we're also able to be more targeted in the types of clients that we want to take on, and that allowed us to really go global a bit more. And now we've got clients all over the world. But we do have one agency in the UK as well that white labels our service. Yeah, so that's sort of really.
With having agency clients, you've got one point of contact, and it might be a bit easier to deal with a point of contact. Whereas you've got direct to client, tiny bit different. You've got one point of contact per account. So does that impact the way you offer your service, or how does that look?
It does. So that, however, most of those agencies that we're working with, we actually white label the support desk. So we still have contact through the email support desk with the clients directly. Because the core part of our service is that WordPress support. So we do still interact with all of those clients. It kind of makes it a little bit harder for us, because if we want to offer suggestions for different types of things, sometimes we've got to run that through the agency and just make sure they're happy with those sort of things. So it actually, it doesn't simplify it as much. And I've found as well that we can get better results for clients when we work directly with them, and I can have a chat with them directly and find out what they need, and then we can offer things to them. Whereas otherwise it's kind of up to the agency to take that step, and we've just got to kind of do what we're allowed. And the other thing is each agency has slightly different considerations and ways of doing things. And so we sort of need to have different processes set up. So it adds a bit of complication to our business doing that. And that's one of the reasons why I haven't sort of grown that as much. It's not a big focus anymore.
Just remember, mate, we're talking the target audience here. All the listeners are agencies. So you're saying that you love working with agencies, and you've got a perfect system to help them out.
Yeah, I didn't really think about that, but yeah. So yeah, we do, but I'm now a bit more careful about who we take on. Want to make sure that it's a good fit, make sure that we're going to be able to work with them, and it's going to work for us as well as work for them. So I'm more selective now with who we take on in that space.
Totally. So a lot of the conversation I had today is around how you've built your team over in the Philippines. So 15 years, you would have been hiring through, before Upwork was Upwork, you would have you would have tried so many different ways and would have had so many spectacular failures. Because like, to have a team of 30 odd, you're not going to have success all the time. So I want to hear about what it was like at the start, and how that process has changed and how you've refined your hiring process.
Sure. Yeah. So I was lucky in that the first website developer I hired, so the first one that wasn't hired for the SEO side of the services, he's still with me today, and he's an absolute legend. I think he's been with the team for 12 years now, around about there. That certainly was a stroke of luck, and that came through a referral. So someone else was shutting down their WordPress side of their business and said, I'm looking for a home for this guy. And that was just good timing. But yeah, probably the second one didn't last as long. And so there's certainly been people that we've hired along the way that haven't been a good fit and haven't worked out for a whole variety of different reasons. But every time that that's happened, we've looked at our hiring and recruitment process and training process as well, because that's another big part of it. It's not just about finding the right person, it's about onboarding them into the team in the right way. That makes a huge impact on their success in being part of the company. And sort of, have added a lot more steps into our hiring process, and more sort of, opportunities to notice the red flags and look for the red flags, and end the employment when it's clear that it's not going to be working.
I'm going to get you to break this down. Like I've got a pretty detailed process, but I want to hear what your process is, because hiring a team member offshore is totally different to hiring a team member onshore, and then onboarding them is very different. So, I want you to go into granular, step by step, what works and what doesn't work.
Sure, yeah. And so the first thing is getting. Essentially, you're doing a marketing campaign for getting team members. So you're putting out ads. And we have tried a few things, but definitely for the Philippines, which is where all of my team are, onlinejobs.ph is a really good source. Another good source of team members is referrals. So from within the team, I ask them if they know anyone who will be a good fit for the role, and offer an incentive if they stay on and they're successful. They stay with the team get past the first month. There'll be a sort of finder's reward for that. And out of that, I've actually got quite a number of family members of people in the team join the team, and that works really well. So we've got a few brothers and sisters and husbands and wives and that sort of thing in the team. And another good resource is Vision Find, especially for admin and stuff. That's a service James Schramko runs.
Okay.
That's one that's been good for not so much for the WordPress developer roles, but for other for admin sort of stuff. So putting out the ads, we make sure that we're not letting people send their resume through or go through the recruiting process in the platform. We want them to fill out our application form, and we have a sales page they go to, essentially, which talks about what the job is all about and how we operate. And then if they're interested, they've got to fill out the application form. There's specific questions that we have in there that we're just checking for their attention to detail, whether and trying to get a feel for whether they have the right attitude. And that's definitely something that we've arrived at over the years, is that looking for the right attitude and motivation and willingness to learn and to tackle new things, that is way more important than raw skill. So their ability to code is not as important as their ability to learn, because they've got to adapt to our systems. They might be really good at doing things their way, but that might not suit us.
Sometimes you want them raw, so they've got the ability to learn. So you don't want to have to unteach them. If you've got proper systems in place, you don't want to have to unteach them to teach them again.
Yeah, definitely. And so we then have we have a filtering step going through the applications, just finding who seems to be a good fit. We have a few, like also a little task that they've got to go do. It's just a 10-minute task, but it just shows their sort of code aptitude.
So do you do that straight up, that 10-minute task? Straight up?
It's a small thing, like it's really like a 10-minute step. So it's not like they're doing a job necessarily, but it's just they've got to put that into the application. They've got to paste a little link in there, and that's just a first little tripwire to see that that they at least have the basic knowledge. And then after that, they go to a first interview where they're interviewed just based on a whole bunch of questions, mostly around that attitude side of things. and they're screened for that first, and then if they're
You do that first interview?
sorry.
Do you do that first interview?
No. So I've got my my admin lady does that first interview and sort of does the check on the client and the applicant, and records that, and then we can listen to it later if they if they're successful, and so we can also get a feel for how they talk, how they communicate, their attitude, that sort of thing. It's quite handy, but it means that I don't need to actually do the interview for all of those people. So we filter it down through the application, then we filter it through that first interview, and then if they're successful for that, the lead developer will get them onto a trial task, and that's a paid trial task, and it's a 2-hour intensive sort of task that they're given, and they're not given any time to prepare for what they need to do. They're given the tasks at the time, and we screen share with them to watch them how they do that. That's the only time in our business that we share screens with the people in our team, but we do that just for that task to see how they problem solve and how they work out things under pressure. And it's sort of like it's a pressure test. And we grade that. We've used the same test from the start, and we have a score, and so we know if they can get a fairly high score in that test, then they're good.
So do you have you mentioned grading? Do you have a grading process for the first interview?
No, not as much. We don't really have a grading interview, but there are certain things that we look for, and it's sort of like, they've answered that right, or they've answered that, they've missed the mark on that, didn't understand it or whatever. It's not really graded as much though, but we sort of have a spreadsheet. We can see all their answers to the main things. And so that helps with filtering, but there's certainly been some people in the team who've had a relatively lower score on that trial task, like around the 60% or something, and like I said, they've had the right attitude. And there's 2 people in our team who we didn't select in the first round of applicants. They were sort of, because they had the lower score in that trial task, we ended up picking 2 who had a higher score, but they didn't, their attitude was wrong. They weren't a good fit for, I can't remember the exact reasons, but we ended up going back say a week or 2 later and saying, look, the other guys didn't work out. Are you still interested? And they've turned into bloody awesome members of the team. So, the raw score is what we looked for, a really high score in the beginning, but I've since found that that's not necessarily the best indicator of whether or not they're a good fit for the team. And then after that, if we think that they're good, they've sort of passed that trial task, then they go on to a final interview with me. I also have a few standard questions that I ask every time, and once again, just get a feel for who they are, and then onboard them. And we have an initial training week where they are given, that we give them good training materials, but also give them a test task to do. So they've got to build a website over their first month, but we sort of, there's 1 week of probation. If it all seems to be working, then they continue for their first month, and that first month will mostly be working on they build one website, and then they build a little bit of a second one. But what we want to do is find out, they're given the same website, it builds the same one, so it's not something for a client. We're just showing them how we build, and we give them feedback on and QA sort of how their work, see how they go, and then we need to see that they implement what they've learned from the first one in the second one. And then it's sort of confirmation there that they are learning, implementing, following procedures, that sort of thing. And so then it's all good, and they're into the team.
Yeah, I love it. So very structured. How long did it take you to develop that framework or that process? Because that wasn't like that on day one.
No, that's been 15 years. Like we've made changes to that process in the last 6 months. Just adjust small adjustments, but every time the small adjustments. Like one thing that actually changed definitely last year was we got a lot more applications filled out with clearly AI, answered questions, like answers put into the form, and that the purpose of the form is to find out who they are as a person, and the AI doesn't, AI answers don't really help us with that.
That is, and this was the one major change that I would have for you is that first form. It's not a form; it's a video.
Make them record a video.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
On stone, you get to see what the communication skills are like, and you also they can't use AI to answer.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's not a bad thought, actually. One hesitation I have there is that I think people in the Philippines in particular are a little more camera shy than we are in Australia, and especially applying for a job in that sort of situation. There's some people who would come across poorly because they're uncomfortable, and perhaps would not even do it because they wouldn't, they might not feel good in that scenario. But it doesn't. They're not required to be good on camera for the whole rest of their job. So it's an interesting idea. But and actually in the first interview that we have, in fact the first two, they're audio only. They only need to go on a video call in their final interview with me.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah,
you might be able to do that first one rather than video. You might be able to do it as an audio only thing. So
yeah, that's also true. Yeah, that could work a lot better.
Yeah. So, and you say the reason is you don't want AI answers. So
yeah, that's
Most of everything else you said, the only thing that I do differently is that first interview have a proper grading system for it. So, but yeah, the way you have structured your interview onboarding process is very similar to how I coach all of my clients. I have a full-on 100-day onboarding process, so they know what they're going to have, what happens at the end of day 7, at the end of day 30, the end of day 60, day 90, day 100. So they've got targets and saying these are the things you want to have happen at the end of each time block, what we're going to have taught you, and what level we want you at. So, but yeah, without having that process, I imagine, let's say even 5 years ago, I imagine there would have been people that slipped through the cracks because you didn't have that process in place properly.
Absolutely. Yeah, there have been people that have come through. We thought we had our hiring process really good, and then there's something that we've missed, or actually another big thing that happens is compromising on the process because you're like, well, we haven't had any good applicants, so let's just give this guy a shot, even though he's not really fulfilling the what we ideally want. And then you realize actually you shouldn't have done that a couple of weeks in. And
I've got a client that I've got at the moment. He's going to remain unnamed. He wants to shortcut the process. What happens if you shortcut the process? Give some examples.
Yeah, shortcutting the process. Yeah, we end up with people. And the other mistake as well is, so shortcutting the process, then you've got someone in your team, you've got some sunk cost, you're investing some time into training them, you've paid them, you've put in this effort to make them fit into the team, and then you try to make it work from there. And that's the worst part. Then they're not quite a good fit, so then you're putting in more effort to try and make them work in your team and make that a good fit when it really just isn't. And so if you don't pick up on that early and you continue to try and shoehorn them into a role that's not really what a good fit for them, then you can waste a lot of time and money having them in the team. We've had people who've stayed around for 6 months, and in the end, you're just like, I should have done this in the first week. Just when you have to let them go and that sort of thing, like it ends up being stressful for you, stressful for them, and stressful for the rest of the team.
It impacts the culture.
Yeah, it really has a massive impact. And so and like I said, it might sound like a good opportunity for them, and so they might be trying to make it work. But if it's you are doing them a disservice by allowing them to be in a role that's not suited for them. So that's sometimes hard. I like firing someone is never easy, but when you think about the fact that you're actually making their life miserable by letting them stay in the role, and thinking about how it affects the rest of the guys in the team as well, like you're hurting the rest of your people. There's so many downsides to having the wrong person in the team.
Totally. I've got a saying, hire slow, fire fast.
It definitely is a good thing to stand by. If you come across the right person and they're ticking all the boxes, you can speed up the process a bit, like give them priority on getting the interviews through, and make sure that they're not being held up for a couple of weeks to get a confirmation that you want them in the team. But you still got to make sure you go through all the steps and check all the boxes and make sure that confirm that they are a good fit. It's definitely important.
100%. So we've spent a lot of time talking about the firing process, not so much the firing. So how do you manage the culture? So you're the only Aussie. You've got a team of Filipinos. You're here, they're there. How do you manage that culture?
Well, there's I guess, but we do talk once a day. We have a daily just audio team meeting, just 10-minute update on where we're up to. Initially, I used to run that every day. Now I'm down, like I've backed off a bit and got someone else in the team to step up and run that 3 days a week. So I still jump in twice a week. And so just having that chat and getting everyone up to date. Also spending a bit of time with people individually, having one-on-one chats with them, especially key people in the team that if you're working on something new or a new process, that sort of thing. I try to once a month do a 1 hour sort of training session where we'll all learn something new together or go over something that's happening, something's a bit different. And then once a year, go over there and have a catch up together. And that's
probably one of the most important bits that many businesses forget to do.
Yeah, that's where the rubber hits the road for sure. Just all getting together, because also everyone in my team's working remotely, so it's not like we're not seeing each other all together. And there's when new people join the team, you can tell that they are. We've got a few people in the team who've joined since we last had a meetup, and they still are not completely comfortable in their communication with the rest of the people in the team. But after we have a catch up together, and it's a fun catch up, like we spend a couple of hours on one of the days talking business and the sort of the direction of where things are going, what's changing. But apart from that, the rest of the time is just hanging out together, going out for dinner, doing a few fun activities, having a few drinks, just having fun. We'll go somewhere nice and just enjoy the time together and get to know each other, and get to understand people's humor. And then that carries across into the Slack communication that we have, there's banter going backwards and forwards, and we've got little inside jokes and taking the piss out of each other and that sort of thing. So just being real, being friendly, and encouraging everyone to just have a bit of fun and make the work fun. Don't make it always just grueling. I think that that means that, and also making everyone in the team aware that you've got their back, and you especially once they've been, they've proven that they're a good fit for the team. then letting them know that you have their back, you're there to support them when stuff goes wrong in their life and that sort of thing. I think that makes a huge difference, showing that sort of loyalty to your team. Then it comes back as to you from them as well.
Totally. So I want to. You mentioned you have a couple of drinks with them. Last time I was over in the Philippines, I was talking to one of my team, and they said, and I wasn't aware of this, that Filipinos typically don't drink and eat at the same time.
I found this out the hard way because I didn't talk about it. We all sat down for dinner. I'm like, who wants a drink? Who wants a drink? And a couple of people got like iced teas. I'm like, oh, okay, all right. Well, I'm getting a beer. Like they certainly don't. They don't drink. Like in Australia, you would always have a drink before your meal. Like you sit down, you have a couple of drinks while you're waiting for your meal to arrive, or to have one even before you order your meal. And yeah, totally different. They will not have any alcohol until after dinner. Yeah,
correct. Like for whatever reason, part of the culture is you're eating and you eat. If you want to drink alcohol, it's a totally different setting, a totally different environment.
Yeah, yep.
So,
that was it was weird for me the first couple of times, and I think maybe it wasn't, because it didn't actually dawn on me until I think maybe the third time I'd gone over there and hung out with the team. Like I think they were I just didn't pick up on it, or thought they were being polite, or I don't know what happened.
Well, it took me 5 times.
Yeah, that's unreal. It's funny though.
Yeah, just different cultures. And
the other thing on drinking culture, I actually was over there for the grand final when Richmond Tigers got their first win in 30 years, and I'm a Tigers supporter, and so I'm like, right, well guys, the plans are cancelled for today. We're watching the grand final because I didn't expect them to get in, so I had the thing booked, and so we watched the footy together, which was good fun. We got some pizzas and beers and stuff, but then when we got the beers, it's like a slab of warm beer, and we got some ice, and they got cups of ice and poured the beer into the ice, and I'm like, no, don't do that.
That ruins it. So
we put the ice in the sink, and then we put the beers in there.
So different. But at the end of the day, like that, you can't learn those things by sitting behind a computer screen, and that's why, from a cultural perspective, you need to be over there and meeting with your team to understand and learn who they are and what their lives are about.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and it also helps you understand where they're at and the challenges that they face on a day-to-day, and there's a number of cultural things that come up with their family and that sort of thing that as a Westerner you wouldn't understand. Or it's different in every country, some of these things, but yeah, just understanding how things are on a day-to-day and how they live makes a big impact on your ability to then understand why they need the day off, for this, or why they're facing different challenges in their life, and having open communication and letting them just know that they are not going to get in trouble. You're not going to be upset at them when things go wrong in their life, and because it happens to everyone everywhere in the world. It's not like and just as long as they're not taking the piss, and you can pick up when they are. Yeah.
The family unit is very different in the Philippines to the family unit in Australia, for instance, or in the US. They're a lot closer. They live typically, if not in the same house, in a house that's one wall away. They're expected to provide for all their family members. They pay for their parents' meals, even if you're a fully grown adult. So
yeah, and they'll be paying for their brothers to go through school, or those sort of things, and paying the medical bills of their grandma. There's a lot of different things like that. Yeah.
So understanding, does that, do you have questions in the interview process? Do you understand their family units before they start working?
Yeah, that is something that we try to understand. I don't want to be prying too much in their private life, but it is
Yeah.
a question that I ask them is just, how are you living? What's your family like? Because it's also, and it's just on a personal level. Like I also tell them about my family and that sort of thing. So it's, I think, but it does help you to understand what's going on in their life if you understand, what their situation is. Yeah, it's certainly not something that we, it's not a deciding factor in their hiring process. Like we don't discriminate against, we're not looking for only single people or whatever, but it's
just an awareness.
exactly. Yeah. 100%.
So this is a really interesting thing. I'm not sure if you're aware of it. Like, so in your fridge at home, how have you got a week's worth of food in your fridge, in your cupboard, in your pantry?
Yeah, I don't know. It depends. Like I would probably still buy stuff every couple of days.
Yeah. So typically in Australia, most families will have food for a few days, a week, breakfast for a couple of weeks, if cereals, that sort of thing. In the Philippines, typically 3 or 4 families, brothers and sisters, parents, all share the same fridge, and they actually live meal to meal. So if there's food in there for dinner or the next day, typically that'll actually get eaten at the next meal by a family member. So not typically, a lot of the time. So when staff members go out for lunch for an hour and a half, it's not that they're just going to the kitchen to prepare food. It's because they're actually going down to the local store to buy lunch so they can prepare food.
Yeah, and they'll be cooking it up.
Yeah,
that's the other thing that's different as well is they'll cook a breakfast. Different than just grabbing a bowl of cereal, because it's usually rice and stuff.
yeah. So us being aware of all of this makes a big difference. So with the way we interact and allow for our team.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so it is important to get over there and see what it's like, and understand how things are going.
Totally. What's your biggest learning been from managing an offshore team?
It's a good question, but I guess one of the things is the fundamentals of managing a team and managing staff really doesn't change much from culture to culture. Like there's definitely all these little nuances and stuff, but the fundamentals I think are still important no matter where you are and whether the person's sitting in the room next to you or thousands of kilometers away and you only see them occasionally on a video call. All the important aspects of leadership and understanding people, training them, communicating well with them in terms of their expectations and what they need to do, and what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, and showing compassion and understanding and caring for them as a human, and not treating them just like like dirt, like whether you can't get away with that no matter where that staff member is. If they're in the office with you or on the other side of the world, it doesn't matter. You've got to be a good boss.
Totally. If you were to give other business owners one piece of advice that you've learned throughout your journey, what's that one piece of advice going to be?
I would say hire earlier than you think you need one. Like you need help. Whether it's your first one or getting your second one or your 14th one. I've always found that it's better to have that person a little bit early, and then it's very easy to give them enough work to make it worth having them on your team, especially when you find the right people. But if you wait until 2 months after you really needed to have that person in your team, and then you go looking for someone, that's when you end up in that situation where you end up taking someone onto the team that's not a good fit because you need someone right now because your business is on fire because you're missing someone. Like, you're better off getting, and it's way better if you can be in a situation where you can hire 2 people, especially because if you can benchmark them against each other and see over the first month who is the best fit. So while you're in that probationary sort of training period with them, hire 2 if you need one, and then if they're 2 awesome candidates that turn out to be amazing and both of them are really great, then just increase your marketing and get more work for them. You want to keep them.
You're back to the wall now. You've got 2 really good staff members, so you need to bring in the revenue.
Yeah, exactly. It's much better to be in that situation than be in a situation where you're stressed out, you've got too much going on, you're under delivering, and you have to hire someone who's not a good fit, and it ends up wasting a whole bunch of your time, and then 3 months down the track you get rid of them anyway. Like, that's the worst case scenario. And yeah, a lot of people have sort of hesitation and fear about taking on that staff member, but I think you as long as you're finding the right ones, it's way better to get them too early rather than too late.
Awesome. Justin, what's the best way for people to contact you?
Support at tunedwp.com. Yeah, tunedwp is our main brand.
Awesome. Thank you very much for your time today, mate.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
That's a wrap. Thanks for tuning into The Growth Equation. If you've enjoyed the show, hit that subscribe button and leave a review. It helps us big time. Catch you next time. And if you want more, head over to evolvetogrow.com.au for show notes and exclusive content.